Welcome to the Mortgage Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Adam O'Daniel, and this episode is going to be a real treat because we are joined by two special guests. I'm joined by Carla Rodriguez, who is a realtor with Wilkinson ERA Realty in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mike Troche. Mike is a loan officer with Movement Mortgage, serving the Hispanic community. Along with Carla, they do a lot of business together, serving that community, and it's going to be a great episode because we're going to talk about the Spanish-speaking community, Hispanic homeownership, some of the really amazing kind of strides that have happened there over the last few years, and then some of the challenges that are still trying to be overcome. So thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for the invitation. We're happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. So Carla, I'm going to start with you. You're seeing it every single day as a realtor that specializes in serving the Hispanic community. We hear that the homeownership rate continues to go up, and that's a great thing, great for your business, I'm sure. Yep. Tell us about why that's happening and what are some of the positive things you've seen there.
Absolutely, Adam. It has grown up in the past few years, and I think I'm going to attribute this to all of my fellow agents and also the Hispanic loan officers that take that upon them to educate the community. So we're not seeing that people are calling completely in the dark anymore.
Right.
But they have, because of that, now they have family members or friends or co-workers who have been able to buy, and they're now starting to get that bug of, why not me? And believe me, we do a lot of events, and we try to educate through Facebook Live and, putting information out there now in Spanish.
Right.
So where they don't need to fish for it and translate and struggle with it. So we have sparked that interest on them. Okay, great.
And I know, Mike, that's something that's been near and dear to your heart here, even in 2019, as you've helped Movement Mortgage roll out the Movement Comunidad initiative, which is a loan process in Spanish, Spanish-speaking underwriters. Tell us a little bit about that program and how it's helping.
It's really exciting because we are, one of the struggles that the Hispanic market has found is finding someone to help them with this process in Spanish.
Right.
And then they'll luck out and get someone who speaks Spanish, right. But then after that initial application, they're kind of stuck.
Right.
So if they can't get their loan officer on the phone and they have a question, or there's something going on with the loan file, they don't know where to go. So with Comunidad, the goal and what we've accomplished is let's offer them a full streamlined process from beginning to middle to end, so that they feel comfortable in their proper language, because there's a lot of tech terms in the mortgage industry that kind of just get lost because it's not terminology that you use every day.
Yeah, if you're not working in mortgage as a professional every single day, it can be really confusing.
In any language, I have to say, because I serve, the English and the Spanish, I have to say in both, they both feel terrifying. You have to hold hands, but of course, it's in the Hispanic market that we have to do it more, because before we didn't have that much support.
Right.
I see now with Movement, they have implemented processing in Spanish, and I have to tell you that it has been a blessing because it frees our time to sell more.
Right,
to help
right.
more instead of having to be on the phone. So now we delegate that to them.
Yeah, because in the past, what we've seen is Spanish-speaking home buyers who are qualified, they're able to buy a home, they're excited, and then looking at marketing material or an application that's in English, maybe they don't quite understand all of it, but they find somebody who can help, they get in,
Absolutely.
And then they have to get on the phone with a processor or an underwriter who doesn't speak Spanish at all. And it can be a difficult education process.
Yeah.
And then you have to then spend all your time playing translator back and forth, right?
I cannot tell you, sometimes I have to go and sit with the loan officers to translate. And so that's downtime for me. Instead of me making the sales or the connections, right. I have to be there translating. And it is, I enjoy it because
right.
I want to make sure I get everything they need. And then when we leave, I know exactly where we are and what they need to do. But it's time consuming, and it doesn't free up my time to keep on educating and selling.
Yeah, and I think that you've hit it, right? Education seems to be one of the biggest kind of breakthroughs that we've seen here over the last few years. As the population has grown and as folks like Movement and other companies in the real estate industry have done a better job of starting to educate folks. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but before we move on too far, I'd like to get a little bit of your story. Carla, you have an immigrant background yourself, so yes. Tell us how you came to the United States and a little bit about your story to get into the real estate business.
I'm originally from Venezuela.
Okay.
I came about 20 years ago, this coming October.
Yep.
I came pretty much following the big sister,
Yep.
They graduated, they moved here, and I used to come visit her, and after 4 or 5 years visiting, I said, I feel like I belong here, and it truly hit me. When I moved, I felt at home. I saw Charlotte growing, And when I first got into real estate, I didn't know anything and I was fearful. And that's what I did exactly, get educated so that I could better serve and empower people. And when I felt strong enough, I felt, wow, this is like everyone's day. Every time somebody attempted to buy a home, they will even ask you the questions with fear and with the certainty that they will not qualify, not even in this lifetime.
Right.
And that to me became my motto. I'm like, I have to let them know that the question is when, and not like, would I be able to? So that's what I do. I have to open up their minds and let them know you're going to be able to make it as well. Yeah. So, and I was a loan officer. I was a loan processor, mortgage loan coordinator, and for the past 5 years, I've been a real estate agent with Wilkinson ERA.
Okay, awesome. And then, Mike, this is a passion for you as well to serve this community. Tell us why it's so close to your heart to be able to serve the Spanish-speaking community.
I think it's partly back to the education, because the Hispanic community as a whole is normally not educated on items, regarding finances and things like that. It's something that we've seen really change over the last decade, and even more so in the last 5 years. Case in point with the Hispanic ownership. For home buying, they're expected to be the number one demographic, 52% by 2030, which is right around the corner.
That's right.
So that's a lot of people that we have to serve that traditionally had nowhere to turn to.
Yep.
So, being able to do things like this and get the word out there to let them know that, hey, no, you're not alone anymore. There's a way, we can help you. And even if you're not ready now, we'll educate you as to what you have to do to get there. And it's important because with the Hispanic community, normally the owning that first home is normally that family's first step into building wealth.
Yeah.
And that becomes generational.
Right.
So it's extremely important in order to, while the Hispanic community is making strides in home ownership in terms of wealth and the gap in wealth, it's still, very behind.
That's
so
right.
That first step is integral and so important in helping these families, bring themselves up and the generations behind them.
Which is the American dream and the reason why we're all here, right? Whether you've been here for generation after generation or you're a first-generation American, that's the beauty of our economy and our country here, is that you can own a home, you can see it, appreciate and value, you can create wealth for you and your family and achieve things that maybe you didn't think you could achieve years earlier. But I think Carla made a great point just a minute ago that there is still a lot of fear. There's a lot of folks who, because they don't understand, or maybe even for other reasons, there's just a fear of what the home buying process is going to look like.
Absolutely.
And I think I'd love to hear you explain where maybe some of that fear comes from for the folks that think, I'll never be able to own a home. What are some of the things in their head that make them think that?
Well, I have to divide it in two parts.
Okay.
That'll be immigrants who came to the country and they don't have legal papers, unfortunately.
Right.
So I have to tell you that even to go to the doctor, that's a big event for them. They're fearful to even go to the doctor. Might as well to, when they have to deal with so many illegalities.
Right.
So there's a way for those people, they are covered with some other institutions that I'm able to also educate and let them know, yes, it is possible. But for the other hand, it's so new. Now you have parents that were fearful.
Right.
They don't have a role model to emulate. The fear has been passed down from generation to generation, and now you have these kids now that they're playing with technology and they can see now and they look for the information, but they still wonder why my parents have never owned a home, why we're still renting. So now they're getting educated, and they're able to get that information for them. I have taken the joy of helping so many 21s and 24-year-olds this past year to own a home, and they have been the first people to get own homes in their entire family, and the sense of joy that brings to me, it's priceless.
What's that like? You're at a closing table and they're signing, and first person in their family to own their own home.
It's amazing. It's like you feel balloons inside of you,
Yeah.
like fireworks, and to see the entire family going.
Yeah.
So you take these pictures and you put them in Facebook, and it's like, like 20 people.
Yeah.
Like 6 people, 4 people. It's like the minimum. I mean, you have the mom and dad, and then their little sisters, and you're making a difference now in that generation that is upcoming. I have this 21-year-old, had a 14-year-old, and they were already talking about when you buy your home, and now she doesn't see it as impossible. She just see it as, I just need to reach this age, and these are the steps that I need to take, and boom, I'll do it just like my sister.
Yeah.
So now they're having this new generation coming up. They're going to be able to role model. They're going to be able to talk it. It's just like going to college, same paperwork. Like, it's not difficult anymore, like this giant monster. And then you have, on the other hand, other immigrants who are coming, like, for example, my country. They're coming with these legal documents, most of them, the political.
Right.
I forgot the name, but you know what I'm talking about, the political. So
they're coming here in all kinds of different situations, right? There's political asylum. A lot of folks are seeking, and so they have that legal status. But that's a hard road for folks who come here under that status. It's a long road
because they need to be in the country legally for at least 3 years, because any bank is going to ask for 2 years bank 2 years employment history, and 2 years residency. So you need to at least be here for 3 years. And my role into the Venezuelan community right now has been coffee meetings where we can get together, many of us, and I can tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. And in 3 years we talk, and they're like, are you even going to remember me? Yes, I will. I will planning on doing this for more years. So you'll be next, and it'll be close to my heart when they start buying homes as well. But that has taken also, it's been taken into the equation as why so many fear behind.
It's such a great point, and one that I don't think a lot of us who have multi-generational history here in the United States understand. I think about my grandparents owned a home, my parents owned a home, and so, like you said, for me it was just kind of like going to college. It was a major investment and a big decision, but at some point I knew in my life I would buy a home. And now I've, been able to go through that process twice with my wife and our kids. And, but if you've never done it before, what a big, fear that is. And it's so encouraging to hear that folks like you guys are helping a new generation overcome that fear. And, Mike, I think Carla made a great point about it's not just the home buyer, but their entire family that benefits and is excited. That has to be a really neat experience for you as well, helping somebody get qualified, knowing it's not just the borrower on the loan, but it's their whole family that's involved.
Yeah, and I mean, and that lends true to the term Comunidad, because when you do something right for like a Hispanic family, everybody they know is going to hear about it. It spreads like wildfire. And I just want to double back onto something that Carla was talking about, which is what I was referring to before. Is in her example, you see the shift in change from why did my parents not buy a home to now here's the 21 or 24-year-old and their younger siblings are already thinking about it. You're seeing that change in dynamics from what their parents or grandparents thought, like, oh, no, you can't own a home, it's not possible, to now this young generation changing the way that we think or that they think, or now that their sisters and younger siblings. So that shift is gigantic, especially in that demographic.
And you mentioned just a moment ago that we're looking at, 10 years from now, that being the largest growing demographic in the housing industry. We're almost to 2020. So you think back, 2010 doesn't feel like that long ago to a lot of us, right? So 2030 is going to be here in a hurry.
Yes.
And this demographic is growing. It's a huge community. And we know there are some, as much as the fear is starting to be overcome, we're really investing in education. There's this whole new generation that is embracing home ownership. There is still some differences just in community cultures. I think one of them we talked about is the family dynamic, the family element that, for me, a lot of times I've been able to qualify just based on a W-2 and my income. But, a lot of these folks are multi-generational households, multiple incomes. And so do you think the mortgage industry is making adjustments quick enough to be ready for this growing market that is incredibly qualified and incredibly excited to own homes, but it is a little bit different than what the mortgage industry has served in the past?
I think we're trying to that, which is the most important part, is that we're trying now to understand the differences as to, it's not a straight W-2 income. Okay, so you have this business, that business, this business, and this one is 1099, and this one is that one, and then you're employing your family.
Right.
We're taking a conscious step towards finding out more versus where before it was kind of like, oh, no, this doesn't look like it'll work.
Right.
And it's not done overnight. It takes a lot of work. And as we know in our industry, there's so much governance and oversight and things that we have to, work through. But I think the fact that we're taking those first steps is a step in the right direction, obviously, because before, the demographic and these kinds of loans were kind of, just too difficult. And now they're becoming normal. Like, we look at this, we can do this, but this is what we have to do. So while it's slow progress, it's still progress.
Yeah, that's encouraging to hear. So I'm going to now let Carla put you on the hot seat for a minute here. So, all right. So Carla, as the mortgage industry makes that progress and starts to take some of those steps, what are maybe one or two things that we need to move a little bit faster on, or that we need to improve as mortgage loan officers in serving this community? You work with these folks every day. You help them find the home of their dreams, and then they have to become qualified and get that financing in line. What are some things that we need to do a better job of?
Self-employment, and I think that you probably had that in mind. Mm-hmm. Self-employment, when you look at the tax returns, and yes, I know you have to declare most of your income because it's going to hurt you down the line, but there are programs that I keep seeing coming out from other lenders, and you guys too, where we can work with bank statements instead of the tax return, so that we can track some income for a whole period of a year, because we know that the businesses have cycles, so we cannot judge only on the good summer when you get the chunk of your money, depending of your, for a landscaping company, for example. So we need to look at the whole cycle. So that's what I think there still needs some tweaking. Also keep educating, because I cannot tell you, because these people get paid so much in cash as well. They keep keeping the money under the mattress. So we as realtors are also educating that and telling them, hey, it's okay to open a bank account. You need to keep track. That's part of the journey. If you're a self-employee, that you at least have to tell them, please do that, so we can come back in 12 or 13 months and you'll have all documented that way. So I would say that part probably is still a joint effort. And of course, I would say programs for down payment, because these generations are now the first ones thinking about buying a home, and they think it's possible because now they have the means to even go to college. They're not in the dark anymore. And even if they're DACA now, they know and they value their education, because they know it came with a lot of effort from their parents, and fighting laws here. That's another topic. But now they have the income, but now they don't have the down payment for the down payment and closing costs. So I would say those are the highest topics that always are coming up on the table.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is 85-90% of what you just described is common for almost every first-time home buyer, right? Down payment assistance, understanding the difference in types of income and what I need to be able to prove to the bank. And that's something that every community struggles with sometimes. So I think we probably need to do a better job, not just in the Hispanic community, but across the board, at helping people understand that you can become a homeowner, you can afford it, you can get the financing, but there's a few things you need to do to get yourself ready.
Absolutely.
Mike, what would be some advice you'd have for other loan officers? Maybe I know at Movement, there's been a really concentrated effort for the last 6 months to build this Comunidad program, but there are others who might be listening who work at other companies, or other folks at Movement who are thinking about getting involved in the Comunidad initiative. What are some things you've learned over the last few months that would be helpful to them as they see this new market and really want to try to serve it with excellence?
The same thing that I tell realtors is you have to associate yourself with a bilingual loan officer or program or realtor or vice versa, because the buying power for the Hispanic demographic is at about 1.7 trillion, which there is no way you're going to be able to avoid it. So with loan officers, whether they're at Movement or they are in other companies, is figure out a way how to get involved. Like here locally, we have several great different nonprofit chapters. We have NAREP, which their main focus is really being a champion for sustainable, affordable home ownership. So if you're not involved, you're seeing the parade go by. There was a great quote that I heard that if you're not at the table, you're part of the menu. So the question becomes, what do you want to be? Because the parade is going to go by and you will get gobbled up. So whether it's, again, if you're not at Movement and don't have access to a Comunidad, you're a lender elsewhere, go to whatever VP it is and say, hey, I think we need to start some kind of program to help the Hispanic home buyer, because the opportunity is out there and it's only going to keep growing. You can't escape it. Or if you decide to ignore it, you're going to leave a lot of business on the side, and on top of business, just the relationships that you make in what we do. Because I think we're more of a relationship business with a side effect of homes and financing, because I know that, I mean, the first couple that we helped together, they still send me texts and they're like, "Are you coming for Thanksgiving or New Year's?" and things like that.
Listen, it's not like only they bring their family, you become part of their family.
Oh, yeah.
I have to tell you that Mike and I were invited to spend Thanksgiving 2 years ago with this couple that we helped.
Oh,
and that
wow.
was a rescue loan. Mike pretty much came as Superman, and he rescued this family, and they're very dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
And we're there. We're Facebook friends, and we invite each other. We were invited to their daughter's wedding, so we're really close. We're really close.
That's such a cool
Yes.
story.
And it's awesome. And that's just like kind of one of many, because that's what happens in
Right.
this community, this comunidad. That's the way that we, kind of operate, whether it's a loan officer or a realtor or the family. That's what happens just through inertia, because that's the passion that each side brings to the table. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Well, it's been exciting to have you both here on the podcast. These are some really cool stories. It makes me feel excited to even be affiliated in this loose way just by putting a podcast together on the topic. I hope that we get lots of people who listen to this and maybe are inspired to, go become, as you said, part of the family. It's not just helping their family, but you become part of it and invited into that. And it's an exciting time. I know there's some challenges that have to be overcome, as you both have noted, but it seems like the future is bright for this community.
Yes, it is an exciting time. The rates are super low. Even if they say tomorrow they're going to go up or whatever, they're still super low. It is a great time to buy. Right now, it's like, when is the best time to buy? The whole year. Listen, the whole year. I mean, there's an opportunity for the whole year. We don't stop. We want to keep educating. We want to keep helping you. And I want to open up that mindset for people that it is possible. Yeah. For me, it is when. It is when you're going to be ready. It's like a recipe. I'll give you all the steps. We'll see you in a few months.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. It's not if, it's when.
Yes, not if, it's when.
Yeah, very good. And Mike, just closing thought for you on what the last period here for you has been as Movement has stood this program up, and you've gotten to kind of see it from an idea to planning, and now it's, I think, expanded nationwide now. So what's that been like?
It's exciting, very exciting, because, when it was first introduced to me, my thought was, wow, you guys are really looking to bite off more than you can chew. You know what I mean? But that's kind of the movement way, right? We jump in, feet first, and it doesn't matter, and we're just going to attack it, and we're going to go, and we're going to make it happen. So seeing the support of the local agents, seeing it grow, seeing, that first loan kind of go through the process and how it worked out and how simple it was for the customer, it's exciting. There's just no other word to describe it, because, even with things like this, a podcast, it's about getting the word out. Yep. To let that demographic, the Hispanic demographic, know, hey, you have someone out there that can help you with this. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to feel fearful of walking into a bank and not really having somebody to help you. Those days are gone. Right. Now it's up to us to get the word out. And just seeing it the way that it's growing, the enthusiasm from loan officers, even inside of Movement, when the word got out and they saw the video, the emails that I got coming in, can I do this? I don't speak Spanish. Can I still offer this? And it's like, yeah, there's going to be absolutely.
So you're teaching Spanish classes on the side
on
now
the side,
as well?
Yeah, every Saturday in the afternoon. Like these are your mortgage terms in Spanish.
Yeah.
Get ready to learn them.
Spanish as a second
SSL.
language.
Yeah.
Mike Troche.
SSL.
Yeah, SSL. There we go. Oh, man. Well, it's been awesome having you guys here today. Thank you so much for making some time out of your busy afternoon to be here. And hopefully our listeners are going to enjoy hearing some of these stories and being inspired to serve that community as well.
Thank you for the invitation and for being a window open for more people to listen and to get the information, the word out that we want to help to, that you become a homeowner. That's the goal at the end of the day.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Mortgage Impact Podcast. You can find old episodes, show notes, and much more at mortgageimpactpodcast.com and wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, comment, and share, and we look forward to having you back on a future episode.